You were born with a grace.
The gift that looks good on you.
That grace is your gift.
The gift that looks good on you.
It's a divine enablement.
The gift that looks good on you.
If you work your grace, the grace will work for you. Company, teach the lesson.
The systems of the world will try to take your confidence.
Yes, they will.
For these systems were designed to make you doubt what heaven said.
Don't you doubt.
The systems of the world
These systems
will try to take your confidence.
Yes, they will.
For these systems were designed to make you sit down on your gift.
Don't you let them.
But the gift God gave to you.
December the 12th, we're giving away 5 prizes. 5 prizes, December the 12th. Those who are consistently tagging us and 5 other people, that's what we're asking, then your name is eligible to go in this drawing, and we're giving away some prizes.
This is the day that the Lord has made, and we shall rejoice and be glad in it. I'm super excited because I have with me Miss Deana Davis.
Yes.
A Philly therapist,
Yes.
self-love coach. I am so excited to get into this conversation. I really am.
Yes.
We're going to open up in a word of prayer, and then we're going to get started.
Okay.
All right. Father, in Jesus' name, we thank you for this day that you have made. We thank you for bringing us to this point. We thank you that you have given us the resources that we need, therapy, conversations, community, and you have also taught us to love ourselves so that we can love others. And we just ask that you be in the midst of this conversation. Have your way. We ask that you touch our audience members, anoint their ears to hear what it is that you would have be said through our guests here today. And we give you all glory, honor, and praise. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right. So give us your background. Where did you grow up? Your family, your prior careers.
Oh, prior careers. Okay, so I grew up in West Philadelphia.
Okay.
Prior careers, I did a lot of things. Oh my gosh, I've worked in Georgia. I was like DHS. It's called DFACS in Georgia. So I was a social worker there. My background is in social work. So I went to Temple for undergrad and grad school. I'm a licensed social worker. And now I'm a therapist. So a therapist and a self-love coach. Other careers, I work for the MS Society. I was a school social work for SLA in Southwest Philadelphia. So many things. So many things. I can't even think of everything. But now I have my own private practice in Mount Airy, Philadelphia. So that's what I do. 100% of my time goes there.
Okay, cool. And you stay in the realm of social work.
Yes.
All the things.
Yes. Social work, therapy, self-love coach, all of those things.
What made you want to get into that?
Actually, my own trauma, my own childhood trauma, and just wanting to give back to individuals like me who didn't have therapy or didn't have the resources. So that is like the driving force behind everything. And the self-love portion of it is, I went through like a divorce and I had to pour back into myself and get myself together. I had 2 small children at the time. So that's where the self-love part comes in, because it's like I had to pour back into me.
I get it.
Yeah.
So I want to get into this. In African-American community,
Oh,
yes. We don't go see no therapist,
No,
right?
we
But
take it to God.
We take it to God. And we should take it to God.
Yes.
But it was frowned upon. But today people are becoming more accepting. I see a lot of, even like T-shirts, people have Jesus in therapy,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So what were some of the biggest challenges that you faced getting into this field?
I really didn't face many challenges. It was fairly easy for me to get into it. I would say like half my class, graduating class from undergrad and graduate school were Black, African American. So it really wasn't hard. More so, I would say being a therapist now, it's about like the population, like the age bracket. So like right now, the age bracket that I typically see is like from 25 to like 40, something like that, 45. The older population, they really don't buy into it, right? They're like, I don't need that, or, and they come from a generation where it's like, what happens in the house stays in the house, or things get brushed under the rug, or, just, like we said, pray about it, which prayer is good, but you also need the additional mental health professional as well. So right now, it's pretty good, easy going in terms of like the younger population. I see that they are like way more woke, way more in tune, very self-aware. It's the older population. And even some parents of like teenagers, they're like, my child doesn't need therapy, or they don't really believe it, and the child is like asking for therapy. That saddens me as well, because it's like, okay, she's asking for it, he's asking for it, you can try it, so it may do the whole entire family some good. But sometimes parents, they don't have that level of awareness and understanding about mental health and the importance of it.
So what is therapy? Because we don't want to assume that everybody knows what it is. Like, what would you say a therapy session really is?
Oh, well, with me, it's a little different, because I incorporate spirituality, of course, like clinical theology and all of that. And it's really like just talking, like talk therapy. But they have like, it's art therapy, it's music therapy. It's so many different forms of therapy. But specifically with me, it's talk therapy, but I infuse a lot of different, things and techniques that I've learned over the years, things that I've used on myself. So it's kind of like how we're talking right now, but I'm going to give you the tips and tools and techniques and the clinical, definitions and the backgrounds in regards to like what you're going through. So for me, I say that therapy is like helping the client connect the dots with their issues, or helping them get to the roots of their issues. A lot of times people don't really know that your childhood impacts your adulthood. So everything you learn from your childhood, you're going to carry that over, whether it's good, bad, indifferent. So sometimes it's me helping people break certain patterns. The big thing is generational curses and all of that. But I say generational patterns because you pick up things such as like how you handle money, or how you talk to your partner. If your dad talked to you crazy or talked to your mom crazy, you may think that it's okay. Like things like that you don't want to carry over, to the next generation. So
that's true. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So you are also a self-love coach. Now, this self-love, this term has been trending.
Yes.
You see it everywhere. Define self-love.
Self-love, my definition of self-love is you knowing yourself on a deeper internal level. For me, self-love is not about like going to the spa, taking a bubble. That's more self-care, right? But self-love is, who are you? What do you like? What don't you like? Where do you see yourself in 5-10 years? Like really getting to know yourself, and also loving yourself the way that you want others to love you. Because if you can't love yourself the way you want someone else to love you, then how can they love you? How can you teach someone else how to love you if you don't know how to love yourself? So everything starts and ends with self. And that's what I teach a lot of even my male clients. I was going to say my women clients, but all of my clients, male and female, kids, I teach my children this. You have to love yourself first and know what you want in terms of like just treatment and boundaries and all of that, because you have to teach people how to treat you. So it's very important.
Okay. So how long have you been a self-love coach, and what inspired you to even go?
So I opened my practice in 2017, but I've been a social worker since 2006. So around the time of when I opened my practice or started it, I would say that's when I started doing these self-love groups. So I have a group called The Blueprint for Self-Love. It's a 6-week group therapy model. So it's like 10 women, we all come together, and each week we go over different topics as it relates to self-love. So I wouldn't say 2018 is kind of when I started the self-love journey and, teaching people how to love themselves. And what was the reason behind it? So like I said, I was going through a divorce. I was getting divorced, and I was really broken. I was like, okay, I have to figure this out. Like, this can't be my way of life. And I had 2 small children and had to pick up and do everything on my own. And not to say that the divorce wasn't warranted or I didn't want it, but it's just that jolt of like, oh snap, like, and then everything starts to come up as you're like healing or trying to, push through. And so I noticed that there was a lot of things I needed to work on. And so it really started with myself, the whole like self-love journey. And I just literally teach women the process that I went through. So body image, I can't even think right now. What are some of the topics? Just the definition of what it is. I had to figure that out. Who taught me it? If they didn't, I had to teach myself. My vision of my body, how others saw me. It was just it's a lot of little intricacies that you don't really think about when you're in a relationship. And so I had to teach myself, and now I teach other women.
Okay. As you were talking, I was just thinking about blame, because you said you went through the divorce, and you had to teach yourself how to love yourself. When women are going through heartbreak and things of that nature, what do you say to them when it comes to blame? Whose fault is it? Who, you know?
I guess it depends on the situation, right? Most times I'd say to the client or women, you allow certain things to happen. Like, you know, if I have a client that comes to me that's going through a breakup, I'll say, okay, let's go backwards. Let's go back to day one. I'll say, take me to the beginning when you first met that person. Were there any red flags? That's number one. Because a lot of times, like, we overlook red flags, and it's like, oh, you know, they can change, or I can change them, or I can fix them. Right. But our job is not to fix anyone. Our job is to shift our focus to ourselves. And once we do that, everything just falls into alignment. So a lot of times, women and men, they will put all their focus into their partner, and that takes the focus off of them. And so then it becomes a space of like resentment. It's like, okay, I gave you everything. I helped to build you up, but it's like you didn't have to, you know? So it's that whole dynamic. So it's not really a blame, but it's like accountability.
Okay.
Yeah, shift into that space.
Okay. When we talking about relationships, I want to stay on this for a little while.
Okay.
Talking about relationships, when you go on a self-love journey, you said you start to attract different. So when we attract things that we don't want, what does that say about our relationship with ourselves?
That you need to enhance that component, right? So if you are attracting, let's just say, people that don't know how to talk to you properly, you have to look at yourself like, okay, how am I talking to myself? Am I talking to myself poorly? Do I talk to other people poorly? Why do I keep attracting women or men that don't know how to talk to me? That like literally starts with self. So it's like, are you saying positive affirmations? Are you watching your tone? Are you speaking kindly to others? Are you speaking kindly to yourself? Like, are you critical? Those are all key components of, that's just an example of like, you know, how you speak to someone. But if you keep attracting a certain character, it's like, it may be a lesson that you have to learn that you are not paying attention to. So I always tell my clients, you know, when we're looking at the red flags, is there a lesson in there? Like, because you have to acknowledge the lesson in order for it to not have as much impact. And then you'll have more strength if it comes up again to walk away from that same pattern. That makes sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because I always say, like, God's going to keep giving you the lessons, but the lessons are going to get louder and louder and louder. So if you keep attracting the same type of partner, it's because you're not acknowledging the lessons. So I tell my clients, we go back, like, let's go back to the last 3 people that you were dating. What are the similar characteristics? If they have this similar, if it's the same thing where it's like they don't talk to me, you know, in the right way, then okay, that's what we have to work on. So that gives me the framework and a play-by-play of, okay, what to focus on. We got to work on you talking to yourself kindly. We got to work on your self-esteem. We got to work on your confidence, because if all of those things are low, you are going to accept someone that talks to you crazy and treats you crazy. So, yeah.
Right. So on your social media, you talk a lot about self-love, and her social media is really good. You talk a lot about showing up as that person, right, before you become that person. But what about the imposter syndrome? People who are going to deal with that because you're not actually that person yet.
Well, you are, because if you have the vision,
okay,
right, because God gives us visions of like where we want to be. Now, if our visions are low, if we can't see past the present, then that's something for us to work on. But if you see yourself as a millionaire, right, this big podcaster, that's your vision, right? And so you have to come and show up as that person, as what you're doing right now. So I think we talked a little bit before the show started, about your journey. And you started off as like one show, and then it built up, right? So the person who you were then, this was the vision. Is that right? Is that fair to say?
Yes.
So it's the same thing in terms of like how you want to be treated, the relationships that you want, the lifestyle that you want. We can attract everything that we want as long as we're in alignment to receive it, right? We can't be hurting people and be like, I want $1 million.
Yeah, no.
It don't work that way. It's like, no, go to jail.
Right.
But as long as it's in alignment and it's what you want and there's nothing really holding you back but you, yes, you do have to come up and you have to push yourself to show up. I wasn't always a social media influencer. I created a vision and I worked at it because what is the saying? Work without faith without work is right. Yeah. So you have to, if you had the vision, you have to work toward it. So I don't really buy into like imposter syndrome because it's like if you have the idea, then it's yours. Like God gave you the vision, so then we gotta put the work in to receive it.
I like that.
Okay.
I like that. So could you share with us how we could cultivate a healthy relationship with ourselves and just create a vision for our life and walk it out?
So the vision, I mean, I know people are like, oh, create a vision board, but really literally create a vision board. I have clients, like even myself, like if I pull my phone out, my vision board is on my phone. And because we are such a technology driven society right now, I say utilize technology in terms of a vision board and just repeating certain patterns to yourself. Like patterns attract the life that you want. Like if you are constantly seeing the vision board, it's the subtle shifts of like, okay, like on my vision board, it has like working out, savings, something about love and getting engaged, right? When I made that vision board, I was not in a relationship. I'm in a relationship. I became a pescatarian, right? I started working out. I'm not as consistent, so we got to work on the consistency. Right. But I'm here. I'm taking more vitamins. When my mentor sees it, she's going to be like, yeah. When I first met her, I feel like in 2018, I was eating pizza, French fries, no water, no salads. Now it's like I went to Chick-fil-A before I came. I got a small fry and a kale salad.
Okay.
Like that's not you know what I mean?
You.
No, at all. But it is me now, but I created a vision at the top of 2023 of this is how I want my life to look like. And so creating that vision helps you to shift into those spaces without you even consciously, knowing that you're doing it. The other thing is I do a lot of like affirmations and like words like everything always works out in my favor. Thank you, God. A lot of prayer. Like I cannot emphasize that enough. I pray in the shower. I pray in the car. I pray 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. Like it's me and God like this. Okay. So creating that vision is very important. And what was the other part of the question? You said how to cultivate?
Yes.
The self-care or the self-love?
Self-love.
So you just have an idea of how you want to be treated. So, people say like, you can't live in a fantasy world, but I say you can. You can be delusional. I think that's the new thing right now on TikTok is like, be delusional, right? And so delusional for me is you creating that fairy tale life for yourself. So let's just say if it's romance, right? You can create a list of how you want to be treated, right? Like I always tell my clients, let's do the list. How do you want to be treated? What are the physical characteristics that you would want in your partner? How does he treat you? How often do you go on dates? Like that is going to put you in a space to receive it because if you have your list already, and it doesn't mean that your person has to check off every single box, but it gives you a framework of like what you want. And so if someone comes in and they don't fit that, they don't match what you want, you're like, respectfully, I'm going to recline. Like you don't have to be nasty, but it's like, you can try it out, but it's probably not going to work out. So you have to, at some point, also get comfortable with walking away from situations that don't serve you. So all of those things.
I love it. Now, give us some practical things for self-care.
Practical things for self-care, not self-love, self-care.
Because, I mean, do they go hand in hand?
They do go hand in hand. They do go hand in hand. It just can't be confused as the same.
Okay.
So, like, practical self-care is the shifting in the thought process of, like, what you do on a daily basis, right? So, like, taking a shower. Most people just get in the shower and it's just like, oh, I'm just going to wash up. You know what I mean? But if you shift into the thought process of, like, this is the most luxurious shower. Right? Isn't that funny? But it's like, I'm taking care of my body. I'm cleaning I have special body wash and lotions and almond oil and body, like, when you shift, but you see how that sound versus like, oh, I got cocoa butter. Right. But if you have to shift, everything is about you shifting into that space of, like, if you want luxury, because for me, we like nice things, right? Listen, I had to get settled into that because when I first met my boyfriend, he was like, oh, you're bougie. And I was like, no, I am not. But I had to get into, I was connecting stuck up with bougie. And so once I disconnected the two, I was like, well, you know what? Yeah, I am. I am. But for me, when I made this shift, because I think around like 2022 is when I started shifting into like a top tier lifestyle. It was like, oh no, everything is, look at you. You can relate? Yes. So it's like, oh no, everything, it has to be top tier. My experience had to be top tier. The experiences for my children have to be top tier. I want them to know. I don't want them to feel how I felt as a child. So I had to create a new narrative. And so shifting our everyday experiences or activities into a more luxurious, or like just, pouring back into you, as opposed to just a mundane, like, oh, I'm just eating this salad. But you're like, no, I'm eating this salad because it's nourishing my body. I'm getting a chlorophyll, Right. So that's how you shift it. So that's very practical. So you don't have to do anything outlandish because everybody doesn't have that the finances to do so. So if you can start shifting with the things that you already do, then it just becomes easier, and then you attract more. Like, people are like, oh, I want to take you to the spa. You're like, oh, sure. Like, you know what I mean? Or they might need a model for like their spa for content for them. And it's like, oh, sign me up, So it's the small subtleties. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm glad you touched on the finances, because we don't want people to think like, oh, I ain't gonna pay my bills, but I'm going on this trip, or I'm not gonna take care of my responsibilities.
Please take care of your responsibilities. Responsibilities come first, because if you're not a good steward of what you've been given, then it will be taken away, or it could dwindle down. So it's like you have to remain in alignment with what you are trying to achieve and what you want to receive. So, that rhymed.
I love it. I'm so into what you're saying that I'm like, wait, let me get back to the question.
Right.
So another thing that you discuss a lot on your platforms is femininity. Yes. And we know that's another big movement.
Let me take a sip. Go ahead. Ask the question.
So, femininity and dating and all of that. How does one heal from a heartbreak while still preserving their femininity? Define femininity first.
Okay. Well, femininity is different for everyone, right? But, everyone has feminine and masculine energy within them. It's just a matter of, like, what is dominating at that particular time. And so you'll have some women that you're like, oh, my gosh, she's so manly, but she may look like a girl. Like, yeah. She may look manly, or she may be, like, girly, but have that boss, like, manly mentality, right? And so it just depends on where you want to be, right? So I have clients who are struggling because their boyfriend or their partner, they're not as masculine as they would want them to be, and so they assume this masculine role because it's like, I have to, like, who's going to take care of X, Y, and Z? They're driving, the boyfriends don't drive, or they don't have a car. I know. But if you don't have a strong sense of what you want in a relationship or how you want to present yourself, this is what happens, right? So femininity for me is just soft, right? Like everything's soft. Like literally, I'm shocked I didn't wear my pink blazer today, but, but like soft and pink, being provided for, taking care of business, like taking care of my responsibilities. But for me, it's like being able to purchase whatever I want, go to dinner with my friends and trips and like things like that. Just very dainty, very poised, very put together. That may not be everybody's definition of femininity. It just varies from person to person. Now, masculinity, it can come up in the form of like taking care of everything for your household. Like some women who are single parents, they have to have this strong masculine energy because they don't have the male energy in their home or the masculine figure in their home. So you got to take care of the bills. You got to protect the kids. You have to drop them off, pick them up. Everything is on you. So you are going to, kind of, your masculine energy is going to be a little bit higher than someone who has that balance. But even if you have a 2-person household, like you're married, it doesn't mean that it's going to be equal or balanced, So you just, as a female and as a single female, you have to figure out what is it that you want. How do you want to be treated, which is a component of the list that when I'm saying, like, if you want to, start dating again or whoever, if you want to shift the dynamic in your household, you have to get clear on what that looks like for you. So some women are like protector, provider, dependable. If something happens with my car, you handling car stuff, like
right,
man energy.
Right.
So yes.
Okay. So how do we heal from a broken heart and preserve our femininity?
That's a 2-part question. Okay. So the healing from the broken heart and the femininity is like 2 different things, right? So healing from a broken heart, you have to assess the relationship, right? Where was the breakdown? Start with the red flags, right? Red flags. What part did you play? What part did he play? What are some things that you can heal and grow from? Like, what do you need to shift within yourself? Do you want to start dating again? Who do you have around you?
Right.
Right? Like, do you have a wisdom circle or a wise group of women? Or do you have, like, ratchet women that are like, girl, forget him. Like, like not really staring you. And I want to say another word, but I know this is But do you have people around you that are guiding you and really want the best for you? Or do you have hate and energy around you because you have something that they want? Is it envious or is it really like genuine love? So you got to think about that too. And then the femininity part is like you maintain your femininity or you increase it, right? I don't think there's a thing where you can like decrease or you should, but maintain where you are. If you feel as though you need a little bit more self-love or just, pour into yourself, that's where it's going to increase once you shift from the thought process of, okay, why did this happen to me and why did this happen for me? Mm-hmm. The for me is going to help you to shift into thinking about, okay, what lessons am I supposed to learn? Because I always say people are not removed. No, people don't leave your life. They are removed. Mm. So if a relationship isn't working, it's because either you weren't paying attention to what the taps says it's time to go.
Right. Right.
And then it's like sometimes relationships just like, boop, I don't know what happened. Ghosting, right? I don't know what happened. They wasn't for you.
Yeah.
And so once you shift into that part, which can be hard because it's like stages of grief. Like a heartbreak is just like a death of a relationship. The idea of what you think or thought the relationship was. And now it's a reality that burst of the bubble that it wasn't that. So now you got to go through all the stages, anger, depression. I can't even think of all of them. But like you go through all the emotions, maybe trying to get the person back, and then you're healed.
Right. Boom, you healed.
Just once you really sit with it, you're like, well, hold up. Why am I chasing after?
Right.
Let me gather myself. Like that. Once you get to that point, I'll be like, okay, girl, come on. Like that's the phase that I like because it's like I can help to pour into you. But once you're in it and you're sad and you're low, it's like people have to just let you go through it until you're like, okay, I'm back.
I like that. What about rejection, though? Because you mentioned something about ghosting. Mm-hmm. And so for people who are we talked about pouring into yourself. Okay, you're ready to get back on the scene. But the rejection, you notice everybody's rejecting you or it's not working out. How do you encourage your clients not to think that it's personal, because you the common denominator?
Right.
So
I tell my clients rejection is God's protection.
point blank.
Period. Because your person, they're not going to leave. You know what I mean? Like once, and then I say, okay, if you keep getting rejected, then let's take a step back. Maybe dating is not for you right now. Let's look at what areas you need to improve on. And I have them state the areas because I can see it. Like it's,
Anyway.
Yeah, but it makes better, it yields a better result when they do the work. Right. And they're like, okay, it's X, Y, and Z. So yeah, if that is the case, I'll say, okay, let's put a pause on it. Or I may not say put a pause on it, and I'll just say, let's just keep working through it as you're still dating. So it just depends on the person. But the rejection part is God's protection. And we can question God, or we could just, okay, God, like show me the way or where you want me to go. You can ask, like, what's the reason? And when you ask the reason, it's like, it could be you're not ready, or they weren't ready, or, a multitude of things. But if you sit in prayer and meditation, it comes up.
I love it. So how can a healthy relationship with yourself impact others?
When you don't know yourself, you just out there, right? You just out there because you don't know, you don't know your worth. When you don't know your worth and your value, you accept anything. So most importantly, it impacts how people treat you. That low vibrational energy, you're going to attract low vibrational people. They're going to treat you like trash. Not necessarily but
like trash.
Okay, we just going to leave it there.
Like trash.
Right. But if you don't know, if you don't feel as though you are a 10, you're going to get whatever level that you feel so if you don't have a healthy sense of self and know your worth and know your value and know how you add value to other people's lives, you just will accept anything. So that, most importantly, it will impact how people treat you, not necessarily relationships. I guess it could impact relationships, but people won't know how to treat you, so they just want to treat you how they treated Keisha. Right?
Not Keisha.
Sorry, Keisha. But
all right,
they won't know. And so once you start the healing, once you start pouring into yourself, once you start saying no, I like flowers, no, I like nice dinners, I like to go to Kelly Drive and sit and talk and picnics or trips, or you have to talk to me a certain way. You can't talk to me that way. They won't know. And so yeah, they're going to treat you just like how they treated the previous person until you start, stepping into yourself and saying no, this is how I want this to go. It's the navigation.
So as a parent, you have 2 teenage children. Yes. How do we love the self-love and the self-care and the dinners and the trips and all that? Yes. But how do you overcome mom guilt? Because you still have to be attentive to your kids. You're I ain't got no guilt.
No, sometimes in the beginning, when I had to create boundaries, especially when Camille, because this was going on, I don't know, since she was 6'5", something like that. And I would feel bad because I would have clients come home and she would literally be crying with her hands underneath my bedroom door. But my mentor, Dr. Wall, she said, you have to start creating boundaries now. And so now with them being teenagers, they don't really, it's no mom guilt because I know who I am as a mom. I know that I get up 5:30 every morning, drop them off, 2 stops and all the things, right? So I don't feel as guilty because I'm I do everything for y'all, that, and that's literally and I have to remind them excuse me. So, but Camille, she is my shadow. So she wants to do all of the things. If she knew I was here today, she'd be like, well, why didn't you take me? But just creating those boundaries and the separation, I don't really feel guilty because if I'm not pouring into me, I can't pour into them. If I don't take time for myself to just recalibrate, I'm no good for them. So it takes a little shifting, but once you get used to it, they get used to it, and it's about creating just the healthy environment and dialogue. Like we talk all the time. We have conversations in the car. They're like rolling their eyes, but I'm like family meeting, and I'm always asking them like, how do you feel? Do you want more or less of something? What trips do you want to go on this year? So I include them too. It's not just me just doing all of the things. Like no, they have experiences as well, and I think it's the cultivating. Like you have to curate these experiences, and the self-love it's a job, but but yes.
I love it. So how does what's the most rewarding thing in your career?
Seeing people shift, like seeing them from beginning to, I don't know, a year or two after, and being able to know that I was a part of their healing process. Like that is so rewarding for me. Or if a client calls me and they say, I heard you in my head when I was getting ready to do something crazy, but I didn't do it because I heard you, and they hold me to a certain regard, and I don't cross boundaries in terms of like client, therapist, but it does make me feel good, and it is very rewarding to know that I am impacting people. Even on my social media page, I'll get DMs and they'll say, thank you so much for this content. It really spoke to me. It resonated with me. The replays and the reposts, it really does. It touches me because sometimes I just talk the talk because our spirit will say something and I'm like, okay, I have to get this out. I don't know who it's for. It may only get 5 likes, but if I hear something 3 times, that's my, okay, let me make this real. Let me create this video, get this out. So yeah, that's how it comes through to me. So when people receive it well and they actually implement the things that, I suggest, it's like, oh, sometimes I feel like me, but yeah, that warms my heart.
So how do you keep yourself sane? Because you have to listen to, this is heavy. What you do is heavy. You have to listen to people's burdens, right? You're still a human. You got your own stuff going on. Yes. How do you emotionally, spiritually, mentally, how do you keep yourself sane?
Number one, I detach. I'm very big on energy as well. So I detach people's energy and I just send it back to them in love and light, right? That's the main thing. The other thing, like I said, a lot of prayer. I ask for a lot of strength and for it to be easy for me. I know that this is my purpose, so it doesn't feel as heavy as people may think. There are days where I have 6, 7 clients, and people are like, "That's a lot," but it really doesn't. It doesn't feel like work because most of my clients, they're not all heavy. So it's it feels like how we're talking right now, but I'm giving them homework and, all the things. But a lot of prayer, resting, taking care of my body, taking better care of my body. And yeah, just knowing when to take a time out, knowing when I need to go put my feet in grass, ground myself, and just being aware, paying attention to my body. And that's really it. Yeah. There are days where it's just okay, I'm overwhelmed and I'm burnt out. But for the most part, it's okay because I kind of pace myself and, again, just ask for ease. What they say when you love what you do, it's not really a job.
Right.
So I'm talking to my friends.
I'm talking to my friends. So you have you have something coming up, a retreat or something.
You calling it into existence?
No, you have something on your page a
dinner
2024.
It's a dinner, so I'm going to do an abundant dinner.
Okay.
And so the idea came to me all the other ideas. And so I know it's, listen, if you could see my phone with all my business ideas, you'd be like, okay,
I get it.
Why are we not a millionaire yet? But so the abundant dinner is going to be January of 2024. I received the idea just to set the tone for an abundant year. Abundance keeps coming up for me, in my dreams, and just people walking up to me telling me it's just, so I'm just like, okay, God, like, let's just do this. So I originally was going to do like a big room and everything, but the restaurants, they couldn't confirm like if it was inclement weather, I would get my money back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do smaller, intimate dinners. So like max of like 8 people per date, and we're going to talk, and break bread and fellowship and talk about how we want 2024 to be an abundant year and just set the tone. So that's what that is, the abundant dinner. But that's a part of my self-love socials. I have a series of events that I do to teach women how to date themselves. So as opposed to you looking for someone to date you, oh, honey, I'm going to take you to all the places. So some women may not have, experienced a Steak 48 or Ocean Prime or, a nice fancy restaurant. Guess what? We're going.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
I love it. So let us know how we can find you. Like, what's your social media? Yes. You told us about some of the events. Any other things that you have coming up that are open to the public?
That's it for right now. I took a break for December for obvious reasons, holidays and things of that nature. But the 2024, that's the most recent date, that event, and I'm going to open up more events in 2024, like the rest of 2024. Social media handles, it is Deana, Deana Davis _LSW on Instagram and TikTok. My website is DeanaLDavis.com, and I think that's it. Yeah.
I really enjoyed our time here.
Yes.
I really did.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for accepting.
Yes.
She famous, y'all.
So, better speak it. Come on.
He famous. Can you leave our viewers with just any more advice on just how to incorporate self-love, self-care, abundance?
Well, abundance, I'll say, is a mindset.
Okay.
Right? Like, people think about, like, it's just money, or it's just, like, you have to shift into it, right? And so abundance can be an abundance of love, an abundance of peace, abundance of wealth. Like, it's really about whatever you want to bring in more into your life. But you have to get clear on what it is that you want. So the word of advice that I would give to, the viewers is to create the vision for yourself. And then from the vision, create the plan and follow the plan. And it's very simple. I know it seems hard, but if you are at a low point, you can always dream and think big outside the box, right? Like, I didn't get here. I was not here 6-7 years ago. I would never have even thought that I would be here right now. And even to the point of me being comfortable with coming to the podcast and just, like, right. No, my mentor, she's probably like beaming ear to ear, because she, like, you know what else too? Having people around you that are going to pour into you, like, really genuinely pour into you. So if you feel as though like you don't have that, start praying for that, because that's what I pray for. So very big on prayer, very big on creating a vision, and doing the work. You have to do the work.
Gotta do the work.
Gotta do the work.
I love it. I love it. Let us know how we can incorporate self-care.
It's the shifts, right? So incorporate the minor shifts and your everyday activities. If you want to go to the spa, that's fine. You want to incorporate nails, that's fine. But it's the mindset shift that, okay, I'm doing this for me, not just as a routine care. Even if it's eyebrows, waxing, whatever it is, it's just a shift in your mindset of like, okay, this is top tier energy, this is luxurious energy, or this is just my self-care act towards myself. But you can, just incorporate that into your day-to-day, and you should be fine.
So one more thing though, because listening to you talk, right, so positive.
Positive Patty.
No, it's good. But being, like, we can't always be there every day. So
right.
What does it look like being when you're discouraged?
So it looked like your low is going to be your low, right? But creating that vision, so you have the high, you have your baseline, and then you have your low. When you're at your low, you have to have a plan to get you to a minimum baseline. So if the baseline is going to put your feet in grass, or going to church, or going to your positive friend, right? Spending time with them. you have to start pushing yourself little by little. I always tell my clients, bite-sized pieces. You don't have to do everything all at one time, but you have to recognize your body right before it even hits the low. And notice, like, okay, if I'm getting headaches every day, my body is telling me to rest. So a lot of times it's lack of rest or lack of water, or you need to disconnect from that toxic whoever, because people pull your energy too. People don't think about that. So it's like, if you are around someone and they are draining you, you leave drained, but you keep going. Why? Like,
Right.
so typically when my clients leave my office, they feel high. Not high like in that sense, but they feel light. You should always feel light and airy and positive. If you're feeling drained, then you got to assess that relationship. So it's a couple of different, I hope I answered the question, but did I answer the question?
Well, the question was more so, you did give us a good answer.
Okay.
But the question was more so
When you're discouraged.
When you're discouraged, right? Because you're saying abundant lifestyle, affirmations and things like that. When things are not lining up, when things are not working out, how do you keep yourself in that positive mindset?
My first thought is just like, you have to like pray. Like, you have to pray for your energy to be shifted. Because if you're low, it's either, like I said, someone is pulling you down, or you're keeping yourself down, but you have to ask for assistance with shifting you out of it. I'm not saying once you pray the prayer, right, boom, it's going to happen in an hour, but it might. Right? But let's say you're like really, really low and you're super depressed. You have to, like, that's when your connection with God has to be on 1,000, because who else is going to help you to shift out of that? So if you're asking for, okay, God, please shift my energy, shift my focus back to me, give me some glimmer of hope, happiness, something, that will be the baseline. That will be the starting point. And then you have to know, like I said, what you need to pull yourself up out of that low, discouraging space. So if it's watching a comedy, or, like I said, calling a friend that's positive, you have to do those things, because if you don't, then you're just going to stay there and nobody can pull you out of it. Because what if you're like, you don't tell anyone? So how will somebody know that you're depressed or in a low space if you don't say anything? So your healing journey is really your own. Nobody can pull you through it. You have to do the work. That's really what it comes down to.
Love it. I know we said we was almost done, but
okay.
I got some more questions.
That's fine.
Oh, how do you deal with jealousy?
Ooh. Okay, give me more details.
How do you deal with people who are jealous of you, and how do you deal with people who you may say, I want to be there, I want to do that? So it's twofold.
Yes. So it's jealousy and envy.
Yes.
So I think just being self-aware, and knowing what that energy feels like, right? Sometimes we kind of, what's this a weird time? We don't look at it like that. It's like, oh, where's my mom? Like, why would my mom be jealous of me? Do you know how many clients that I have and their mom is straight jealous? Like, I've had family therapy and the mom is like,
wow.
Yes. So it's a real thing, but sometimes it's disguised as like a family member, or it's a joke, or, So I think just praying to have, like, to be in tune with yourself and knowing, like, if you have that feeling in your stomach, she's trying to play me, like, or is this shade or is it genuine? If you have to question it, it's probably not genuine.
Right.
Because genuine, again, feels light, airy, uplifting. It's like, oh, thank you so much. Right. But if you feeling like, hold up.
Yeah.
Go with that, and then remove yourself. Either check it, like say something, get comfortable with having a hard conversation, or remove yourself, depending on the nature of the relationship. And then the envy, envy is something that you really can't get away from, especially with social media. People are all like,
right,
you're everywhere, and so it's nothing that you can really do about it except for pray for protection against it. So that's my answer. That's what I do anyway.
I like that. I like that.
Heavy on the removing myself. Heavy on the disconnecting from relationships. If it doesn't feel right, or if I don't feel as though that you are treating me the way that I treat you or it's not reciprocated, okay. Yeah. And know that it's not like a one and done. It's more so like I give people,
Right.
chances. I communicate. I don't like that. And if the response isn't a favorable response, okay, like, okay, it was nice. Thank you for your time and your energy.
Right. I really enjoyed myself, and I learned so much sitting talking with you.
It went by so fast.
I know. But can you just close us out in a word of prayer to our audience members?
I'm not big on, like, how you was praying.
It's a conversation.
Okay. Okay, God. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for allowing me to share, my tips and tools and gems that you share with me to the viewers. Thank you for just the connections that we will make and I will make and, make with Jessica. And I pray that everyone receives something from this podcast and we all grow and heal and love each other. Amen.
Amen.
How was it?
That was beautiful. Thank you all so much for watching. We know that you were blessed. We know that you learned a lot. And share this with somebody.
Yes.
Definitely share it with somebody. Tag us. Make sure you follow Deana on her social media platforms. And remember that with God, all things are possible. Be blessed in Jesus' name. December the 12th, we're giving away 5 prizes. 5 prizes, December the 12th. Those who are consistently tagging us and 5 other people, that's what we're asking, then your name is eligible to go in this drawing, and we're giving away some prizes. We're giving away some gifts because we appreciate you. And here's the big one. If you write a review every week on those platforms I listed, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and consistently tag us, your name is eligible to go in the drawing for a free 360 photo booth rental. We know the holidays are coming up. People are having holiday parties, birthdays, baby showers, weddings, all the things. If you, I'm going to say it again, if you write a review on those platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and YouTube, in addition to tagging us and 5 other people each week, then you're eligible for a free 360 photo booth rental. We thank God for you. We love you. Thank you for your continued support. And remember that with God, all things are possible. Be blessed in Jesus' name.